I'm sure one would agree that there are many influential people all over the world, which leads to the question, how do I choose just one? Being one of the easiest decisions I have ever made, I chose to talk to you about why I feel Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the most powerful people of all time. I also felt that it made perfect sense to recognize all of his achievements, seeing as Martin Luther King Jr. Day is just around the corner. Martin Luther King Jr. was an American pastor, activist, humanitarian, and best known for his leadership in the African American civil rights movement. King led the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955 and was the founder of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in 1957, in which he served as their first president. Many of you have more than likely heard of Rosa Parks and her story. It was on December 1st, 1955, that Rosa Parks was arrested for declining to give up her seat on the bus to a white man. It was soon after that the Montgomery bus boycott, which was headed by King, followed. The boycott lasted for a little over a year, 385 days to be exact. The Montgomery bus boycott landed King in jail. However, it did have a positive outcome. The boycott put an end to racial segregation on all Montgomery public buses. King's role in the boycott revolutionized him into a national icon and a well-known spokesman of the civil rights movement. King also helped coordinate the 1963 March on Washington, where he delivered his legendary I Have a Dream speech. It was then that King established himself as one of the greatest speakers in American history. The march was constructed in hopes to end racial segregation in public schools, provide meaningful civil rights legislation, including a law prohibiting racial discrimination in employment, and protection of civil rights workers from police brutality. In all, the movement was a huge success. More than a quarter million people from diverse backgrounds and ethnicities attended the event. King's notorious speech, which he gave at the event, aided in putting civil rights at the top of the agenda of reformers in the United States and expedited the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. He also became the target or focus of the FBI, in which he was under constant scrutiny for the remainder of his life. King was investigated for possible ties to communism. Despite all of King's struggles, he managed to receive the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964 for combating racial equality through nonviolent measures. In the final years of King's life, he broadened his focus to include poverty in the Vietnam War. Martin Luther King Jr. was sadly assassinated on April 4th, 1968, which led to riots in many cities across the United States. His killer was believed to be a man by the name of James Earl Ray. Allegations later arose that Ray was framed for King's assassination. Although Ray confessed to King's assassination, he later retracted his confession, stating that he pled guilty to avoid a trial and the possibility of receiving the death penalty. It wasn't until the jury of the 1999 civil trial found another man, Lloyd Jowers, to be blameworthy in a conspiracy against Martin Luther King Jr. According to Jowers, he received $100,000 to organize Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. It wasn't until after his death that King was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the Congressional Gold Medal. Martin Luther King Jr. Day became a well-established U.S. federal holiday in 1986 when then-President Ronald Reagan signed a bill creating a federal holiday to honor King and his achievements. Why is King honored in January, one might ask? Martin Luther King Jr. Day is celebrated on the third Monday of January every year around the time of King's birthday. They haven't given you enough reasons as to why I believe that Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the most influential people of all time. Let me review his contributions to the United States, which affect not only me, but you as well. His participation in the civil rights movement, whose results led to an end in racial segregation, impacts individuals across the U.S., no matter the race. I have a diverse group of family and friends that I would not have today if it weren't for King's determination to put a stop to the separation of races. I genuinely hope that I provided you all with enough reasons as to why you too should view Martin Luther King Jr. as a national icon for his activism in the African American civil rights movement. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to listen to my disclosure and hope that on Monday, January 20th, you take a moment to appreciate Martin Luther King Jr. and all he has done for our country.